That's very important. That I just want people to realise that you don't have to be a victim. You know, you can be a survivor and you can live through it, and come out the other end a much stronger person with more education. You know, I didn't know anything about domestic violence until that happened to me. I've immersed myself in it now. I understand it all, and I think there's a severe lack of education around domestic violence, but I hope to change that.
In the UK, 2 women a week die at the hands of their partner or their ex-partner. 1 in 4 women in their lifetime will suffer some form of domestic abuse. This abuse can be devastating for some people and can leave with them quite a nasty scar, something that will affect them and stop them from really enjoying life, and will cast a dark cloud over the way that they carry on about their daily routine.
It was pushing and slapping and things that wouldn't necessarily leave a mark, but things that would put me in danger. For instance, he tried to push me into a road when an oncoming car was coming towards me. I came into contact with a lady called Zoe Dronfield, who is an active campaigner against domestic violence. She encouraged me to speak out, and if more women were to come forward and say, this is what's happened to me, this was abusive, this was a crime, I think that could build to such momentum that it cannot be ignored.
It's so secretive. Nobody wants to talk about domestic violence because domestic violence is an absolutely taboo subject. It's pushed underground, nobody wants to address it, nobody wants to talk about it. I've been a victim of domestic abuse for 19 years. At first I was really ashamed of that fact that I'd let it go on for so long. And it's that shame that really kept me entwined for longer. And I just thought, no, this has got to stop.
When they were bad, you didn't really realise they were bad at the time. As I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, do you know anyone that's suffering from domestic violence or getting beaten up? But then I'm like, I wouldn't know anyway, because no one in that situation is going to talk about it. It's just, you know, he's had a bit to drink, he's going to lash out a bit, or it's just normal. It's just the way the house was run. It was just that fear. I think everyone was scared of saying anything.
Well, she's trying to change it, isn't she? I mean, because at the end of the day, people like them, they are, I would say they're amazing liars. And they are. I mean, when we went to court for the divorce, the lies that he told, and everybody believes them, and you can't say anything because it just makes, even when you try, he just swats you down and makes you feel like that's more. And it's not just women that should be speaking up. We need more men that are saying, actually, this behaviour is wrong.
Knowing that it's not right to live like that, knowing that it's not normal, because when you're growing up, it's normal. You're not going to complain, you don't want to rock the boat, you don't want to, so maybe talking to people, having someone to talk to.
That thinks they've got more strength and more the laws on their side. They're really intimidating.
Sometimes there isn't any need to have that vision because it's limited, but it is changing, maybe more in Britain, maybe where it's more westernised, and the generation that was born here, but ultimately it's still happening. It's probably just not spoken about. Girls are always going to be, you can't dream too big.
Yeah, he did control everything, and I think maybe if we all spoke about it to each other, then it may have helped us a bit more. I don't think any of us spoke about it. Like, everything has an effect, so you think that it doesn't, and to every action there's a reaction, and I think with me, I never realised it. It took me years and years and years that you do need to talk about and deal with it, because if you don't, it will just start showing up like through the cracks. And I think it affects everybody differently, really.
And the courts, if I went to the courts now, they'd look at it as if to say, well, you've not bothered with them, you can't see them, blah, blah, blah. He's looked after them, he's done this, he's done that, he's done the other. But what they don't realise is the story behind it is that he's actually stopped me from seeing them. He's stopped them from seeing me. He's stopped them from seeing their granddad, their other brother and sister, and he will just lie through his teeth. And I don't know how you would get around that, but something needs to be done.
For me to go back to where I was, I was a shell of my former self. I don't even recognise myself back then. And it's very difficult for me to go back there and even think about that. I want to move forward, and that's kind of the work that we did. It was constantly moving forward, putting all the negativity away in boxes, moving on and getting on with my life.
I think the best thing about talking to David was that I realised that nothing that's happened is my fault. When you're in that relationship, you see things through fog. You don't see things clearly. You doubt yourself. You constantly are paranoid about what's real and what's not. And actually, when you emerge out of that and you speak to somebody like David, you are very able to categorise that behaviour. This is all important for me because I just want women to know that if you're in a relationship that you think is abusive, or you've left a relationship and you feel like everything is falling apart, I want you to know that you will be okay.
I'd love to just help other people and let them know that it's not their fault, that they can actually, there is help out there and it doesn't make them a bad person, and just that they can move on, and have successful lives and have happier lives.
No, because even now I feel bad talking about it. I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but actually sitting here and saying this is what happened, but the truth's the truth, and that's what happened, and that's what my family went through, and they've come out stronger. Try not to be afraid. It's hard, but you really gotta, if you want a better life for yourself, for your mum or your parent, then that's what you have to do.
Know that what I'm doing is pretty much foolproof. So someone will come in at point A and we've got somewhere to go, point B. We use different techniques, and we do use hypnosis, which is, some people think it's got some sort of magic element to it, which it hasn't. It's recognised as it's now a viable medical intervention.
People contacting me constantly saying they've been through this, and that helped as part of my process of therapy, is knowing that other people have gone through the same process. They're dealing with the same issues that I've dealt with, and it gave me a passion in order to move forward and come out the other side. So I set up my own charity, which is now helping hundreds of women, and that is what gives me strength, is the passion behind and the reason behind the movement in order to change processes as they are. As we speak, the processes don't work. Our procedures in this country around domestic violence, they don't work. I actually nearly died that day, but I was actually reborn, and I've got a new life.